Sometimes people have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it yet. Just go forward. So what do you need to do? How do you stand out?
What you need to do is be that person that's different
And it's bigger than you think.
Rise from the ashes and fly like the
couple of
phoenix.
elements that are there. I am not a market expert. I pay attention to what's going on across different social media apps from a business and marketing perspective, and I try and pay attention. And since we're having someone that's coming along with the metaverse talking this next week, I figured it would be relevant. Now, some of you guys may be going, I don't want to talk about the metaverse and what the hell is the metaverse, and I'm confused enough about basic social media. I don't want to get into that. And if you don't, that's fine. This is just additional information, because at some point there is a transition that's going on slowly, and there will be more of it. And so we'll talk a little bit more about what that is this next week, but I wanted to touch on Facebook in a quick breakdown. So for the first time in forever, the number of active daily Facebook or monthly Facebook users went down. First time ever. Now, some people, and Craig wasn't the only one. I had a couple people like, what about this? Let's put it in perspective, guys. It's about 500,000 users less. They have 2 billion users. Okay. So 500,000. So it's less than 0.5% of their overall, much less than 1/2 of 1%, right? In active users during the month or daily. The active monthly users actually did go up. Okay. So people grab a hold of one thing, and of those users, the majority that left were in Africa, India, and Latin America. Okay. Africa, India, and Latin America. One of the reasons that it went down in India is because the cellular charges for data plans increased. So you had less people using data in India. How many of you guys are utilizing India as your primary market? Okay. So it doesn't affect you at all, like zero. That said, they actually increased their revenue from ads from detailed targeting, meaning the businesses that you're targeting spent more money. Okay. So sometimes people freak out about things that don't really have a whole lot to do. One of the reasons that the overall numbers went down is because Facebook this last quarter said, hey, we're going to change to Meta. We're going to push hard in this regards. We're going to spend money on hardware and other things like the Oculus visors. Anybody have one? I've got one. I'll bring it out Monday when we talk with Dan.
Yes, I have one.
Okay, Forrest has one. It's cool. It is a really cool thing. I'll bring it out, like I said, but they're spending more there. They hired 10,000 new engineers and other people to work in that department. So they're not going to see a return on that for a while. Okay. So point of all of this is the sky isn't falling yet. It's going to be okay. Right. I mean, it really is. The number of active users that they had on Instagram and Messenger and WhatsApp increased. And guess what? Facebook owns those as well. So, the one little statistic that people were freaking out about, it's just something for clickbait headlines for the most part. Their revenue went up. Their overall users across all of their platforms increased. And they're transitioning their business to allow additional revenue streams. But hey, we lost a little bit of users in Africa, India, and Latin America. Oh my gosh. It's crazy the way the market reacts. They're just looking for a way to react. Okay. So don't freak out about it, is my point. Everybody cool with that? Businesses are still spending more money than ever, and they'll spend more next quarter and throughout the next couple of years. It's going to be a while before that transition really takes much, does too much. So, okay. Any questions on just kind of Facebook, YouTube, that kind of thing? YouTube has grown. Like if you guys, depending on how you're wanting to brand yourself, you can absolutely promote this program on YouTube. Some of you guys may be starting channels. I would recommend it. I'm going to start putting out a lot more content on there along with my channel, the high performance calls. If you go right now, that's most of what's there, but there's going to start to be more stuff. I'm working with my video guy now to start producing more. We're just going to prep some videos before we kind of start releasing those. But does anybody else have questions about social media and Facebook in general and some of the basics? Anything? Everybody's cool. We're just quiet today. It's Friday. Just prepping for the weekend.
Well, maybe branding.
Okay. What about branding?
My branding page, and I've got to go back through the training on branding and setting up my Facebook page just to make sure that everything is right. And you can talk about that.
What about it? Branding is a subject that is fairly broad. I mean, it covers everything from how you want to position yourself to what is your mission statement to what kind of headline, who you're attracting, how you're attracting, what your overall message is across, all of your content, all that kind of stuff. What questions do you think you have?
Well, I have recently, since I've, if you've looked on my, when you look on my page, you'll see that my RV and resort and campground information, or the graphics that I've brought down from Blake's training into my page. People are attracted to that, and I'm starting to get a lot more friends requests for that. Right. So how do I deal with it with those friends requests? I accept them, but do you communicate with them, all of them?
No, I mean, I wouldn't message every single one of them. I would be posting, if I pull yours up, Lynn, I'm kind of restarting mine. I've mentioned that, but so you want to, post more content, like on your personal page. I'll have to pull up your business page, but on your personal page, you're going to want to put up more content, right? So you have are you okay if I show your page?
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. I'm good with that.
Okay. So you got your banner set up. This was posted 4 days ago, so you probably want to be posting a little bit more regularly, right? Which is fine. And you got some interaction here, but you posted the exact same thing the day before, right?
Oh, that was an error.
So, but you got both.
Yeah.
And then before that, though, it's my masterclass video, cool video, but video before that, ad, right? Like this should be every fourth or fifth post should be about that. The rest should be questions, a post like this, something that's going to generate some interaction, right? Like, a different video, like you want to throw out content to engage with your audience. And then once you've done that a few times, then, by the way, I've got this, then, hey, check this out, asking questions, and doing that. Right. So, Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, if you guys know who that is, big on social media, huge influencer, talks a lot about marketing, has marketing agency, everything. But he's got a book called it's Jab, Jab, Hook, I think is the name, right? Which is essentially content ad, right? Like you don't try and knock them out every single time. Okay. So same thing with the content that you guys are putting out. It's consistent. Now, Lynn, you've got the Traffic Explosion Masterclass. I dive deep into that. It shows you exactly what to post, when to post, all that kind of stuff. And then, mix it up, like James is saying.
Say that again, the masterclass.
What's that?
Say that again about my masterclass. You
have a Traffic Explosion Masterclass in the accelerator. Just log into the accelerator and scroll down to the bottom. And then there's 27 videos in there to teach you how to go get organic leads.
Oh, I see. Okay. I understand.
Forrest, that's his personal page. So, and you want to be in groups posting all that kind of stuff. So criteria for groups. First thing I'd say is dive into the training that all you guys have inside the Facebook setup training. There's a training in there on what to post in groups, when to post, that kind of thing. Right. And he kind of talks about it. Now, when I look for, as far as criteria, what I'm looking for inside of groups is I'm looking for number of members. I want to look at level of activity. And then from there, I'm going to, I may join it and kind of feel it out and see how I want to see how active they are. So I don't want a group that's posting like 100 times a day, because some of those groups are, depending on your niche, can be anywhere between 1 or 2 to 100. Some of them are 10 posts a week. That's fine, because I can get in there and I can get active. But I want to see. I'm going to join that. Look at how many posts are being posted. I'm going to look at the location, because some groups are, if it's a heavily if most of the members are in places like Africa and India, it's probably not going to fit my audience that I'm looking for, right? So I'm going to pay attention to that. Just because it shows that a group is, in India doesn't necessarily mean that's where the members are. Just because it shows the US doesn't necessarily mean that's where the members are. So I'm going to pay attention to that. Look at who they are. I'm going to do that by jumping in and looking at some of the members. Some of them, if they're posting and it's obvious that, some of them are posting in another language. If half my posts are in Portuguese, then I'm like, well, that's a Brazilian group. That's not the group I'm looking for. I'm going to pay attention to what is being posted as well. Right. So if every single post inside that group is somebody promoting their own product, then I'm not interested in it. Right. Then there's too many advertisers in there. So part of it depends on, Richard, what niche are you in?
I'm in the fitness.
Okay. So I would look at, there's a couple of things in fitness. Like if I'm going to do, when you say fitness, are we doing personal trainers? Are we doing gyms, or what are we doing?
Personal trainers, but I've also looked at gyms.
Okay. Now, inside here, 8 posts a month is probably not enough, but I would hop in there and take a look. This is a personal group, so we can kind of look without even joining.
Yeah, I joined that one.
Okay. So,
I find some of these groups don't approve your posts, even though you just you've abided by the rules. They just sit in the pending pile. Sometimes I think because they don't have enough administrators to manage the group.
Yeah, that might be it. You got to kind of pay attention to all of it. Like if they're not approving posts ever, but I mean, there's some stuff in here that have. There's because if I look, what is this saying? 8 posts a month. So here's the thing: we have yesterday 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different posts were approved yesterday. And before that, it was January 14th, which means, the administrator's not as active. If they're not approving, then your stuff's not going to be seen as much. Can everybody see that? What we were looking at? Because it shows one day. But again, this goes back to, look, like that's, what is that? I don't know. Indonesia, Bangkok, Thailand, right? So, but then January 14th, January 11th, December 16th. So if this is a group where they have to approve your posts and they're only doing it once or twice a month, well, then that's, you're not going to get anything in there, right? You're not going to get exposure. You can't post daily in a group if they're only approving it, a couple of times a month. So, if I look at this one, if they're approving regularly in here, so 2 days, 3 hours, 6 hours. So this is 9 hours. This is a bit more relevant. But there's also a lot of stuff like there's these people that are posting that, you got to kind of pay attention. All right. So this is a gym. This is stretching. So it's still, most of it looks like it's relevant. Right. But then, so you got to kind of look, how many of them are stuff like this, which is nonsense. And then how many of them are actual, providing some value. Does that make sense, guys? So I get in and I look at all of that stuff. And if it looks like it, then it just doesn't make sense for me. So some of them are preventing trolling. Yeah. New Vision Online, digital marketing, layout of all the accelerator of all other programs. Can you show us how to get there? Yeah, I'll get you guys something separate. Okay. Outside of here. But you should be able to log in to that dashboard. It's a different dashboard than the regular one. And then you just scroll all the way down and it's there. It's the last ones on the bottom. I'll show you at the end, Craig and Sarah. All right. So those are basics. Few Q&A for today. Let's anybody else have any questions? I want to bring on Kim and Bruce for a quick little training. Are we cool? Good? All right. So let's spotlight. Bruce, you're going to go first. Kim, you're still here, right?
Thanks.
Kim, yes. Okay. Kim, you're going to be next. All right. Where is
good.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, now, Mr. Bruce Venture, we'll get kicked off with you. Bruce, I'm going to let you tell some of your story because it's pretty dang cool. But I just enjoy you talking because the South African accent comes out. But you began down there. You're up in Wales. You are an author. You were orthodontist, correct? Not dentist, but orthodontist for years and years and years. Living in the UK now, and then tackling this digital marketing world, along with wanting to help people in the industry that you've been in, right? And so what we'd like to do is just hear a little bit more about your story and why you're so passionate about what you do. So go ahead and take the floor, my man. Tell us a little bit about you. How'd you go from where you went to where you are?
My significant story starts when I was in a mental hospital for 9 months. And my psychiatrist told me with my parents that I'd be a vegetable all my life. He said, go home, don't become institutionalized and sort your life out, or just be a vegetable. It was like what he said to me. I went home. My father wouldn't accept that. And he said, we're going to take action. And I had no choice other than agreeing, because I wasn't accepting that I would be a vegetable.
Uh-huh.
We went to see an acupuncturist friend, and I did acupuncture treatment for about 9 months every day. And I went off my medication. Then I applied to go back to working as a dentist. The Medical and Dental Council of South Africa would only allow me to do that if I went back on medication. I went back to another mental hospital, spent 6 weeks there while they gave me the right medication and saw that I was stable.
Mm-hmm.
I then practiced dentistry until I came to this country in 1999. I'd been doing orthodontics for a few years in South Africa, and here I could practice as an orthodontist. And because of the medication I was taking, I was unable to concentrate well enough to write exams.
Okay.
But I learned to do I learned the skill of doing orthodontics, and that was fine until 2006 when there was a change in the contract in the UK, mm-hmm. and I was not allowed to work for myself any longer. I had to join somebody else and work for them. That was a quantum change in
your daily life and work and everything else, right? I mean, but so you overcame quite a bit and push yourself all the time to be able to put yourself in a position that you could work and not accepting, what they were saying where, well, this is it. This is all you can do. And you continue to, fight against that. What do you think was one of the elements that gave you the strength to do that? A lot of people, when they're told, hey, no, this isn't going to work, whether it's a psychologist, doctor, or family member, hey, you just got to accept it. What gave you the strength to fight against that?
First of all, when I was in the hospital for 9 months, I was in a locked ward for about 6 months of that time, and I discovered a way out. I would go to the fire escape, take the key, and let myself out. And I realized that I might be emotionally compromised, but my intelligence was still there.
Right.
With that knowledge that I had what was between my ears, I knew I could still function as a dentist.
Yeah.
About 3 years later, I was working in the highest paid job that anybody could get as a locum, as a replacement dentist for a short period in one of the diamond mines. Mm-hmm. And then I realized that what the doctor had told me was just a lot of nonsense. And then from then on, with ups and downs, I was homeless at times as well. Not homeless at times, I was homeless once. And I pushed on and made it in the long run.
How did you decide to write a book, Bruce? How did that come about?
Yes. Being amongst mentally challenged people, mentally health challenged people, mm-hmm. I got to know a number of them who committed suicide later.
Okay.
I used to go to schools with a social worker. She would discuss the aspect of mental health with the children from the provider's point of view, and I would talk about my experiences as a patient. Mm-hmm. During those drives to the schools in Cape Town, we would often talk about how I got to where I was.
Right.
And I said, I'd like to write a book. And she encouraged me a great deal. Her name was Rosemary Duncan. And I'll never forget the enthusiasm and the encouragement she gave me. That lived with me, but I was only about 35 at the time. And it wasn't right for me to write a book at that period of my life. When I came to this country, I was in 2011, my wife passed away while visiting South Africa, and I decided I'm going to write down my experiences and publish it so that people with mental illness and without hope could perhaps read the book and realize that where there's life, there's hope, and not to give up on their lives.
Right.
And
to be an inspiration for people like, to not give up and, to push through no matter what is phenomenal. So kudos to you on that and overcoming everything that you have. I think the big takeaway for everybody, guys, is just we're going to all have obstacles, and we can really never understand what everybody else has gone through. And there's moments where we feel like, hey, I've been through so much, woe is me. There's always somebody that's been through that little bit more, but at the same time, recognize that you've got the potential to do so much more than you think, right? When people tell you, hey, this is it, this is over, that's all you got, you have an opportunity to step up. And, he went from you're going to be a vegetable to being a successful and practicing orthodontist to writing books and doing everything else. Like there's always more that you're capable of, guys. So, Bruce, I appreciate you. I thank you. We will get this edited up. So everybody, quick round of applause for Bruce. Thank you for that, sir. All right. Now let me find Kim. Thanks, sir. Appreciate you. All right. Remove spotlight. Where'd you have? Where'd it go? Nina, did you have her posted there? Where is it?
What are you looking for?
Are you spotlighted, Kim? That's what I'm trying to do. Let's get you spotlighted. Let me get you.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Nice.
Okay, Kim, do you have your slides that you sent me? I
do.
Okay, so let me make it so that you can share. All right, so Kim's a fun one, and what I mean is, in talking with her, she's got this drive and this passion to do and be more. She's already done a number of different things and put together trainings and this information that is incredibly useful for the audience that she works with. And she understands her audience, and she knows who she wants to deal with, and she knows where she wants to go. And yes, the map background is absolutely relevant for her. And
I like see the edges there, and I'm like trying to move so that you can't see the edges, and I'm like, oh,
you gotta zoom it in. You gotta get a little,
I know, I'm like,
it works for who she is, for her background, for everything else. Like she gets it, and she's driven. And so I'm gonna have her, we're gonna talk a bit here. She's got some slides she prepped. For any of you guys that are still looking to come on, you don't have to prep this much, but I'd love more of you to kind of reach out. I know some of you guys are getting ready for it, but on that note, like she's got something fully prepared. So I'm going to let you kind of chat a little bit about, women and confidence and how this plays into the world that we're in nowadays. So,
and two things too is, number one, I need to talk to you about how to connect the Yeti microphone because it wasn't working, and I'm like, dang it. So I know you have that. And
on Zoom, how to connect on Zoom or how to connect to the computer?
Well, on both, because I connected to my computer, and then it wouldn't allow the audio for you guys to come through. And I'm like, whatever.
Because what happens, and for any of you guys with this, when you go, I can't show my screen on this, but when you're on Zoom, the microphone down in the bottom, the little arrow, when you pop it up, it'll default. If you connect a mic like this, it'll default to the microphone and speakers. It'll use this as speakers. So you need to put your regular speaker at the Realtek or whatever it is you're using, and then it'll change your speakers. So it'll pick up audio with the Yeti, but it'll default to Yeti as a speaker as well, but it won't necessarily be. You don't have it.
So fancy. It's like,
they're great. I love them. I love it, but
the clarity in your speaking gets like really across. So I was like that too. And then the second thing was with Bruce, it's like, how do you get his book? Can we get it?
Yeah. Look, do you still have the, if you've got it available anywhere, Bruce, then drop it into the Skype chat. If you've got it, if it's available anywhere.
That's the first thing when he started talking, I was thinking Viktor Frankl, The Man's Search for Meaning. Mm-hmm. And I was like, he's got to write a book. And then when you said you did, I'm like, that's awesome. I want to read it because that's an incredible, people want to hear those stories. Yeah. And when I talk to people and I'm like, when you talk, you always want to refer to other people that have been through shit, and people want to hear
absolutely it. Because here's the thing, everybody, and we've all been through shit, right? And some people's has unfortunately been messier than others. And I don't think there's anybody on here that hasn't had some type of nonsense that they've dealt with. We all have. And the cool thing is, there's different ways to tell your story. You don't necessarily have to write a full book, but don't be afraid to tell your story. Right.
Well, even the Viktor Frankl one, it's tiny. I mean, it's not a huge book. It's like there's some that are, a monstrosity, but I mean, people want a short read on an airplane, and that would be, I would really highly encourage him to get on it. That's cool.
Yeah. So he's going to drop it in the Skype group and we'll go from there. So all you, my dear.
All right. So I do share screen.
Yeah, you should be able to.
And hopefully then they can see me too as I'm doing it. Share. All right. Now I see you, so I want to make sure I can see.
We can see you. You're still spotlighted.
Okay, cool. And now you can see everybody. I just want to make sure it's right. Is that right? Because I'm looking at you. Yeah,
we can see screen, and then you and I are spotlighted, so you won't be able to see everybody else.
No, I'm just trying to see me to make sure I'm looking okay. Okay, I'll make it little. I'll minimize it. All right. Okay, cool. So I guess everybody knows now I'm Kim Brownlee. And that, it's so funny because I do talk about myself, but I love talking about other people more. And so that's why I love people's stories. And I learn about other people's stories so that I can also then help them, because what drives me, I'm going to cover a few things, is like my beginning and my programming is that my sister didn't want a sister. And everybody has their initial programming that forms them from 0 to 8, and it drives them. And what my little story is that my sister didn't want a sister. And so she did those little pick-ons, and people are already going to form the I'm not good enough and the kind of a little bit that turns into the woe is me. And I studied that because I'm like, I know I'm better than that. And yet I'm not good enough. Who do you think you are? Who you can't do that. What do you think this is? Or, all of those negative thoughts we have. And so I studied it. So that's the human machinery. And what I found out as I kept studying the brain science stuff is that it wasn't my fault. Everybody gets programmed from 0 to 8, and then it keeps getting repeating. And so what I work on is like how to help changing lives with people, showing people they get the what they want. Many times they get their why. People say, what's your why? But they don't get how, and they get stuck in the how. And so I love to help people with the how part. And my sister was like I said, she was in her terrible twos. She was 2.5, and then I came along. And like, I was the person then in high school, and then it was like, I don't know. I was the one that didn't know what they wanted to do. And I was the one that was like, what do you want to do for your career? And I'm like, I was the one that felt like I was one of life's screw ups, and that's cleaning up a lot. And so, like I said, I studied the human machinery, and I learned that it's not my fault the way I was programmed. And what I tell people and teach people and show people is that it's not your fault, but once you become aware of it and you learn about it, it becomes your responsibility. Yeah, so it's not my fault, but that doesn't mean sit back and like, not my fault, I was created this way. No, it becomes your responsibility to drive you to get, to better yourself, to study your own brain, to study your own desires and stuff. And so, like I said, there's a certain machinery to human beingness that everybody is going to have. And you can see that when you start to look, like I said, the 0 to 8 patterns, when you become aware and you start listening to what you're thinking. And that's the next one, is to notice. The first place to start is to notice what you're noticing. And so what we are is our thoughts first, and then thoughts go into your feelings, and your feelings then dictate your actions many times. And so if we notice what we're noticing, we start to notice what we're thinking. We have 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and 80 to 95% of those can be not on the positive side. And so if you're trying to, say the affirmations and say the great things, you've got, like what you've taught, Andrew, is the subconscious and your other parts of your deep down stuff of telling you can't, and you're stupid, and that you're wrong, and that you're never going to get it, and this is too hard, and all of those things, 50 to 70,000 of them a day. And then you overlap it with the positive ones, and it's like, it's like I'm doomed. And that's the way I felt at first. And I call all those little thoughts your roommate because it's not going anywhere. So I'm like, when people say, oh, the little voice, or, how the thoughts in my head, I just call it the roommate, because you have to learn how to
communicate,
get with it, talk with it, communicate with yourself. And that's what you've said, is that your self-awareness is a big key. And when I'm talking, I always bring this big key with me, because I'm like, there's a lot of keys that can help get you to success. And one of the keys is to notice what you're noticing and notice your thoughts. And I was a flight attendant for 20 years. And so I give flight tips. And one of the hugest flight tips, or the keys, is to not make it wrong. And so people make themselves wrong on that. So part of the how that I talk about and I share is awareness. You start to see patterns when you start to notice what you're thinking and identify what you want and look to your future, because you'll be able to see your patterns is your past. And so many people are living from their past. And when you can then be aware of it, look to your future, you then have choice, because you can notice the difference. And then sometimes just a matter of choosing. But the awareness is the first part. And that gives you power. And that's what I'm about, is about giving people power. And when the roommate comes back, you notice it, you have awareness, and you choose. And so what I love to do, as far as like one of my passions, is help give people power, because then that gives them choice. And so that's why I formed a company called Women in Confidence. I had to choose a niche, and I am a woman, and a lot of men are a little more trained to be able to have a little bit more confidence. So I focused on the niche of women. So that's one of my biggest passions.
No, I love that. And confidence is something that we all need. But the reality is, and I hope I don't offend anybody when I say this, but unfortunately, society for the most part has limited or pushed back when women are confident, right? And
you're the bitch, and you're the
right. One. Like you're too emotional. You're the bitch. You're this. You're that. Whereas if a guy is uber confident when he walks in, then they're a go-getter, and they take the bull by the horns, and
they're powerful.
And they're just this natural leader, and so it's this additional layer that women are fighting, right? And so if some of our other members, if you're going after women entrepreneurs and everything, but even just personally, and this may not even be in the market, solely in the marketplace, guys, but especially you ladies, like there may be friends and family members. It may be a spouse that's kind of saying that, like, honey, settle down. It's going to be okay. You don't have to push that hard. Like, why are you trying to, you don't need to stand out. Like, you can just do this. Or why aren't you happy? Why can't you just be satisfied? That's where the roommate comes over and the roommate's inviting friends, right? The roommate's throwing a party.
Come over and have a party.
Yeah. Yep. And meanwhile, you're sitting there and, she's talking about the 50 to 70,000 thoughts and really our subconscious is rolling even faster. And you're doing your 60 seconds of affirmations, right?
Yep.
It takes work, guys, but and what she's talking about is you can choose that power, and you're either going to choose the power and put it in your own hands, or you're going to give that power to the roommate and let them walk all over you. And so it's important to continue to do that. So Keith is asking, Kim, how would you define confidence?
I would define it as like a knowledge, and you almost like feel it. It's almost like an awareness. Confidence is when you know who you are. And it doesn't matter what anybody says to you. If they say, you know what, after the holidays, here came another 25, 30 pounds, and I've lost 100. And so it's like, do I notice that and I let that get me? Or do I choose and say, you know what, my commitment is health and wellness? So confidence, I think, is an awareness, and it's also practice, because I have times that I just go and have Baskin Robbins, and I don't, and it will always come back. It doesn't matter that programming from 0 to 8, and then it just keeps repeating, is going to be there no matter what. And so it's, number one, don't make it wrong. And then the more you can notice it, it actually becomes a muscle, and you notice it. And the brain is so fast. You have so many of those little connectivities, more than there are stars. I learned that from Melissa with the neurofeedback stuff. Mm-hmm. And you just, it's noticing it, choosing, and it becomes a confidence. So it's more of a feeling, and then it becomes an action.
Yeah, confidence truly comes, guys, from your ability to recognize and make that choice and do it consistently, and kind of gaining that confidence to yourself that, hey, I followed through. And that's a big part of it. Confidence comes, it doesn't come all at once. And I've done trainings on it. And I think we'll dive into it a little bit again this next week. It's one of my favorite trainings that I do about confidence, because we want confidence. We want it at the beginning, but it doesn't come like that, right? We want to be confident before we do this. We want to be confident before we talk. It comes after
and it's a muscle. And I don't know if you wanted me to mention this, but I wrote a book, and it's about your declaration. I am, I can, I will. It's like, I am this because I say I am, because I declare I am today, not what I'm thinking it was before. And it's like, I can do that. And you know what? I will. And then there's where the confidence comes in. Yeah. So, and it's a practice. It takes time. I was not like this 20 years ago. No way.
Yeah. Be patient with yourselves, guys. So awesome. Everybody, a round of applause for Kim. And for Kim and Bruce. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, you got a book. Go ahead, post it in the Skype group. Bruce is going to post his there. Appreciate very much thought that you put into it. And awesome. Thank you. Very good. All right. So
sometimes people have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it. Just go forward. So what do you need to do?
On that note, guys,
so what you need to do is be that person that's different and it's bigger than you think.